Guys, I'm going to say something crazy controversial. If you guys want to actually grow your business, stop watching YouTube videos. Like, unsubscribe from me, unsubscribe from Ryan. Like, literally, like, you're getting the high of you're learning, but you're really not. Nothing's going to help you guys escape from the work. You guys are going to make way more money making 2 times the amount of dials than listening to a YouTube video. Biggest thing that most people that's actually holding a lot of you guys back from actually growing, becoming like profitable agents you guys want to be is
I trained a team of 20 life insurance agents how to actually grow and scale their business, the exact metrics that you need to use so you can get to that next level, exactly step by step, the numbers that you need so that you can get to that 20 to 40,000 a month mark. So you're going to want to stay till the end because I break down my business beliefs that have helped me really grow my business.
one of the biggest things that I see a lot of agents do is they run the business based on feelings rather than on logic and on numbers.
Welcome back, everybody. Know we had a couple of weeks off as far as the team meetings go, and we got a little bit of a special guest, as you guys can see. So glad to have Mr. Johnny Netafan. Appreciate you coming on, man, for sure.
So cool. Well, I wanted to, one thing that I've seen, because I've had a lot of data as far as like new agents that come in or seasoned agents. The biggest thing that most people that's actually holding a lot of you guys back from actually growing, becoming the profitable agents you guys want to be, is not actually knowing your numbers, right? And so the reason why there's monsters as far as like brands and monster businesses, like I mean, like even social media platforms, right? YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, they have all the data points on us, right? They have so many, they track all their data, they track all their metrics. And that's why like people, they even like, they have so much control as far as like what they can feed us, what they can show us. That's why they're used so often and so frequently, is because they have their metrics dialed in on every single one of us, whether we like it or not, right? And so I think if you want to really take it to the next level and you really want to become a profitable agent, you have to know your numbers like the back of your hand. And one of the biggest things that I see a lot of agents do is they run the business based on feelings rather than on logic and on numbers, right? And so I really wanted to go deep into tracking your numbers. What should your numbers look like? What I've personally seen as far as an agent getting to 20 to 30K a month, and how do they actually do that? So you can literally just copy and paste it into your business, the exact metrics you need to track, so on and so forth, right? And if you guys get into the habit of this, a lot of us don't track our numbers because one, we're lazy, and I can say that I definitely was at first when I first started, and that ultimately, like if you guys don't know my story, I went $15,000 into debt my first 9 months in the industry, right? It's simply I didn't know my numbers. And so I knew I had to buy leads over and over and over again, which I believe that, Ryan, you run them, right? To run the ads through Facebook and things like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Are you guys okay? Cool. So most of you guys are doing that, which is awesome, right? If you guys are buying leads, you guys are in the practice of getting good lead flow consistently. But I was indoctrinated and I knew I had to do that. But at the same time, I didn't know my numbers at all. So I was like, okay, I was basing it based on when I call them, did they answer right away? Okay, cool. This is a good lead. And so I'm going to buy more of those. And so it took me 9 months of being in the industry. And I remember it was Thanksgiving week. And I was like, this thing is out of control. And I'm nervous to actually look at the numbers. I'm nervous to actually look at what leads are performing because I want these leads to perform, but I don't know if they are. And I really didn't know where my business was at the end of the day. And I didn't even know like how much debt I was in. I just knew that I didn't really want to look at it, right? So I decided to look it up and uncover, open up, like put light in the darkness and be like, you know what? I'm just going to look at it, see how bad in the hole I am and kind of create a game plan to go from there. And so what I did is I'll actually show you guys the original sheet that actually tracked everything on. Let me pull it up here. And this is just to give you guys context as far as like what I'm actually going to go over with you guys. Let's see here. It is finances. That's the sheet. So go here. What I did is I took every single application that I took and I put everything into a sheet. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to become a data-driven business owner, and I'm going to know exactly what my numbers looked like, right? So what I did is I had 3 different lead sources. And what I did is I took every single person that I sold, how much IP that I wrote, and what lead source they came from. And I just wrote all this down. And this was like the past 4 months because that's all I had data on. And so it was nice is like, okay, cool. On each lead source, I had exactly what issued, what was my issue rate, what was written, blah, 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 right? As you guys can see, there's a massively glaring number right here that you can look at, and it's like the issue rate is absolutely atrocious. So that obviously leads to a low profitability. But with that being said, it's like, okay, you look, this is why the leaderboards are so kind of facetious in a way, because 3 months, 156K in written business. Well, how much actually hit the account? And assuming that I was at actually a 70% commission level on level business, which means 50, 45% on GI, right? So that's obviously not good. I tracked all my deposits for those. I tracked my cost per acquisition, tracked everything. And I decided that Razor Ridge at that point, this was 2022, was going to be the best thing that I did. Well, what I did was I was like, you know what? I'm going to cut everything else. I'm going to triple down on this. And I did that, right? Long story short, spent $3,000 that week and literally made back like $500. And I just went 2,500 extra in the hole because I just got a bad batch of leads. So I tracked all my numbers and I tracked everything. And I was like, okay, I'm writing 16K a week, but I'm only issuing 7,600, right? So this is when everything hit me. And I was like, okay, I can actually create a game plan now to understand exactly where my business needs to look like, right? And so that led me into a huge rabbit hole as far as generating my own leads, cutting the costs. I knew how to sell. And that's really ultimately the story of like, okay, I did that, knew my numbers, and a month later, I look at my account and I actually wiped away all the credit card debt because I actually started tracking my numbers consistently and religiously. And I only made decisions based on numbers. So I want to give you guys a decision-making tree or like kind of an understanding as far as what your business needs to look like, the key metrics that you guys should track in your business, and how do you actually do this, right? So ultimately, like you guys, what's nice is you guys don't own, like you guys don't have to focus on the marketing a lot. Some of you guys might be generating your own, some might not. So I'm going to focus more on the sales side and the business side, ultimately on this training. And raise your hand if you guys have any questions or put it in the chat. I'm more than happy to answer it. But this is really what, if you guys know these numbers, like these blue sheets right here, if you hit these and duplicate these exact metrics into your business, there's no way you guys don't hit 20 to 30,000 a month minimum, right? And then you obviously scale it from there, right? So for you guys to like dial in the metrics that you guys have, what should they look like, right? So as far as the sales side, and this might look different for you guys based on leads. I know that we work similar leads as far as that goes. So take this with a grain of salt, but take the main core idea and then apply it to your business, right? Might not be exact, but try it as best you can, right? So the main metrics that you guys should be tracking on a day-to-day basis, especially because I'm assuming most of you guys might be using Kixie or Wave or some type of dialer, is it's auto gonna like track a lot of your numbers, which is nice. So dials, contacts, presentation, sales. What I like to track is AP written and then also AP approved, right? So what sales are actually being written and then what also are going to be approved. So what does that look like, right? So what the biggest things that we want to know out of these different things is your dial to contact rate, your contact to presentation rate, your close rate, and your average AP per sale. And can anybody guess why we want to know these ratios or at least break it down to this like detail? You could just unmute and say it.
To know where you're failing.
Yeah, exactly, right? The goal of the whole thing, you're not going to be perfect, which is awesome. At first, you could still make money not being perfect. But imagine a conveyor belt, right? And you want your business to become a conveyor belt. And you put one thing, you put money in top, which is your ad spend. And when it goes through the conveyor belt, you actually make money in commissions and make profit in your account. That's the conveyor belt. Along that line and along you guys, it goes step by step by step. At each point, there's going to be breakdowns that happen, right? So are you making the dials? Well, if you're not, that's obviously where to start. Then the lower that you go, the closer it is for you to actually be making money and making profit, right? So what I like about these ratios and metrics is that you can see where the breakdown is as you go down closer and closer and closer, right? So what's your dial to contact ratio? If that's not working, okay, I'm going to show you guys what my decision making tree is as far as that goes. What's your contact to presentation rate? What's your close rate? What's your average AP per sale, right? So metrics that I tell my guys to hit. If you guys do this, you guys will be crushing. And again, this is based on numbers, not based on feelings. If you guys get in the habit of looking at your numbers, a lot of the times we're afraid to look at the numbers, but in reality, the only two outcomes can happen if you guys look at your numbers. The very first one, and you guys can write this down if you want or just take notes. The very first thing that could happen when you guys start tracking and actually looking at your numbers is that a lot of us are afraid of it, right? The very first thing is just motivation, right? You can see, okay, there's a step-by-step game plan that I need to hit to be able to actually achieve the goals that I want to hit. That's the very first thing that can happen. So it's motivation if you're failing. But the other thing is actually looking and being like, oh, I'm not doing as bad as I feel like I am. Maybe you got the objection at the end of the day, the think about it, the talk to my wife, talk to my kids, blah, 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 blah. Too expensive, whatever it is. But your closing ratio is actually really good, right? It's actually on KPI. And so this is where you can really remove emotions and just look at the numbers and be like, you know what? I'm actually crushing, which is awesome. So metrics to hit that I like to see is a 5% dial to contact rate, a 30% contact to presentation rate. So if you make a contact, what I count, and you guys might count differently. So take this obviously with what you guys are doing right now, but like contact for me is you call somebody and you get the actual person that filled out the form on the phone, right? Then your close rate on the presentations, your average AP per sale, and then issue rate as well, right? So if your business is not hitting this, if your metrics don't look like this, here's what you do, right? Here's the sales thought process decision making tree. So if you have a contact problem, very first thing, use Kixie. And this is just sales focused and sales oriented, right? I'm not going to talk about marketing because that's not what the call is for. I'm just trying to really dive deep into the sales and then business side with you guys because you guys are all business owners, right? So dial to contact rate. Number one thing, if you're not using Kixie, highly recommend using that. Number two, call within 5 minutes. That alone will really help your dial to contact rate, like actually getting people on the phone. Yeah, some people are not going to answer, but don't make a rule based on a few different things, right? Don't make these assumptions, right? Just call within 5 minutes, boom, you're done. And then optimize the first text that your CRM sends out to get more responses when a lead comes in. This is a constant thing that you guys want to test if you guys want, as far as like just getting more responses when the lead does come in. Whenever they respond, it's super important to call your leads right away. If you're getting a contact to presentation rate, right? Your upfront objections need work. All right. So what does that look like? The number one thing is going to be the tonality, right? And then it's a 1A and 1B because I wouldn't say either one of these are more important than the other, is word tracks, right? So for our leads specifically that we're running, and you guys might see different ones, the biggest things are going to be, I already got it taken care of, not interested anymore, too expensive, call me back later, right? There's word tracks that you guys probably have already. If you guys need them, let me know. I can send you some over that I have, but ultimately that's what you guys are going to want to master and make sure that you guys have dialed in. If that's all dialed in, the next thing is cadence and quickness. One thing that I see a lot of agents mess up is they let the client speak too long on the front end. So what's important is for you to learn how to interrupt correctly and learn how to interrupt where it's not rude. It's just a quick interrupt before they actually are able to give the full objection. That's throughout the whole process, but especially in the first like 3 to 7 seconds of the call is just your cadence and quickness. Track why the person didn't convert into a presentation on a separate tracker. So I don't know if you guys have, I think Ryan actually mentioned that you guys have a tracker, use that, but what I do is I have all my people write down the contacts to like, why didn't it turn into a presentation? Did they say they need me to call them back? Did they say they're at the doctor? Did they say whatever they said? Oh, I can't talk right now. Call me back later. I have a somebody at my house. Whatever it is, track why that is, because you want to. You don't need to be perfect, which is nice. You just need it. You just need to fix the bottlenecks, right? Alex Hormozy talks, you're only going to be able to scale to the bottlenecks of your business. But if you can't identify it, and if you can't actually understand what the bottlenecks of your business are, you're never going to be able to scale, right? And it doesn't need to be perfect to every spot. You just need to be good enough and then you move on to the next thing and you fully solve that. And then you move on to the next thing. That's how you're able to move at lightning fast speed. I'm not perfect by any means, but I was good enough at a few things that I was able to really just keep going fast. Right. So that's the contact to presentation rate. Now, presentation rate to close rate. Few things here. Ryan kind of alluded it to earlier there. But make sure you keep frame and take the client through your process. You're the doctor, you're the professional at the end of the day. Imagine if Donald Trump like came or whoever it is, like Joe Biden comes and he's like, hey, I need you to do something. There's a certain frame that they have, right? And I'm not gonna get into politics here, but like the thing is like they have a certain frame as the president or ex-president that they used to be, right? But if they were to go to a doctor who has the frame there, like, hey, I'm sick, or like I know that they both got COVID at some point, like, hey, I got COVID. Like they go to a doctor who has the frame. The doctor has the frame, right? So you guys have to keep your frame when you're talking to these clients. It's super important. So being the sales professional, a few ways that you can be and identify as the professional or at least show your expertise as the professional is in underwriting, being very professional as far as that goes, knowing the medications, knowing different questions to ask, the quality of questions that you ask. And Alex Hormozy talks a lot about this. He knows how good somebody is based on the quality of questions they ask. And it's just an assumed thing, assumed level of respect that they'll have for you, that they're going to be more prone to go through your process if you know the medications like the back of your hand, right? So if they say, oh, it's metoprolol, metoprolol, yeah, I have it on that. Is it for high blood pressure? Is it for hypertension? Is it for blah blah blah, right? Like, oh, how'd you know that, right? Because I've been doing this long enough, right? I have a ton of clients just like in your same situation, right? So there's more trust that's just instantly instilled just being the professional, right? So that's one thing. Ask great why questions, really peeling back the onion, get clients to actually open up to you, nail the overcome to think about it, part of the script that that I have. If you guys want, I can send it over to you. 3-option close, super simple, overcoming and baking and social objections, right? On the back end. This is where a lot of sales can get lost, right? Because the contact to presentation rate, there's a lot there. And then also presentation to close rate, that's going to be a lot also, right? There's a whole application. And I mean, I could do a whole training on just like application etiquette in a way, and not being weird or like getting stalled out, and letting a bunch of dead space like in the application. You don't want that. But that's a separate time. I was on the phone helping a new agent yesterday close, and I'm like, why are you? I was like, I need to train you a little bit better as far as like in the application, because he just left like 30, 45 seconds of dead space. And I was like, dude, you just can't do this. This is so crucial to just keep them bought into the call. That's just besides the point, right? That's just one example. So whenever you don't convert a presentation into a sale, track why not. And then as you start seeing the patterns, then you can identify what you need to work on, right? So then the next thing is like, if you want to get your AP up, obviously a lot of it's going to be marketing, but also like show higher numbers, above average price range at the price they gave as far as like comfortable what their budget is. And also like well below their price range, 3-option close. And if you want to get your issue rate up, I mean, it's super important to write good carriers, write true social security billing, and then make sure you're getting an approval on the first call. If you guys aren't doing this, it's super basics. I know Ryan talks a lot about this, but like don't let the client off the phone if you're not getting an approval. because the likelihood that they're going to pick up again is probably not, right? So, does anybody have questions as far as that goes? I'm gonna show you some other stuff, but like that's kind of the first part of this. Is this all making sense for you guys and you guys tracking with me? Because I know it's a lot of information, a lot of stuff.
I got a quick question here. When you say
Yeah, man.
85% issue rate, you mean like
Yeah.
out of the ones that you submitted, they actually like did the first payment and all?
Yeah, exactly. That's my that's kind of the golden thing there, for sure.
Okay, so that's not your persistency rate. That's just how many they actually made the first payment.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The persistency is a whole separate thing.
Okay.
As far as that goes, a lot of it is distilled down into carriers that you write and how you sell in the first call. Carriers, guys, like I wrote a lot of Great Western business, and you guys just saw what happened with them. Their billing is absolutely atrocious. Just make sure that you're writing good carriers, guys. That's all I'll say, for sure. So, that plays a huge part into it. I mean, Ryan, have you seen the same thing, or what would you kind of say as far as that goes?
Yeah, that's exactly our focus, right? Is to make sure that you're writing the right carrier. It doesn't necessarily always have to be the bottom dollar option.
Yep.
For example, you could have somebody who's talking about how their dad passed, and man, whenever they went through the funeral, it was just god awful, and it was so painful to have to try and pick out all these different things, and the funeral home was pushing stuff. That's a perfect example of SBLI has the concierge service, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got Aetna, or you got the Protection Plus or SBLI, and they're $5 difference. If you sell that concierge service, that $5 will never matter to that person, right? So that's exactly a perfect point of you want to sell the right carrier. And sometimes if you don't listen to the client, you won't pick up on it, but typically it's pretty easy to pick up on when they're just focused on price. If they are just focused on price, you are very likely, as I tell everybody, we're dealing with Facebook leads day in and day out. Every one of us are running our advertising off of Facebook. And when it comes to those type leads, if they were able to get on Facebook to find you, they're seeing about 100,000 other people. Like it is just, I have just stopped on Facebook ads, and I may look older, not as old as Cody, I'll point out, but but I see a lot of final expense ads. It's ridiculous just from slowing down, and looking at them. So they pick up on your every move. So they're seeing 1,000 ads a day. So it would not take out. There we go. That's the kind of idea I've got. I didn't even do anything to make that happen this time. That's my glow. So yeah, point is whenever it comes down to it, if they're seeing 1,000 ads, they are very likely to see another one and want to click on it. So you have to make sure that you do it right the first time. When you have those, you hear someone talking about having payment issues, it's probably a good opportunity to say, okay, even though Aetna, they're not the greatest at Social Security billing, so they may be $5 cheaper, but I know that Trinity is very great about Social Security billing. Transamerica, whoever it may be, not necessarily Transamerica, but Trinity's great at Social Security billing. So you choose that carrier over the other. So and you sell it a little bit, but yeah, without a doubt, to answer your question, yeah, we definitely, it's a very heavy focus, not necessarily 100% price based, but you definitely want to make sure that you get the right carrier to start off with. So
yeah,
And let me interrupt, John, if I can interrupt real quick, because I do want to add this, because this is super important too, guys. You gotta, when you sell this product, you're also selling yourself, right? So let's just say, like, my name's Cody and I'm selling you, and you know who I am. I make you put you on my phone, all this stuff, right? You got to show up on the back end too. When they need something, you got to answer the phone. When there's an issue with the payment, you got to call them. Like, you can't just be the broker agent that sells and doesn't take care of your business on the back end, because that'll eat you alive. You're going to spend a lot of time dealing with stuff that's easy fixes that if you just weren't lazy and you dealt with it, it would take care of a bunch of the problems that you're having. So that's a big part of it as well.
Yeah. And I would say, and this is what I'm about to go into, but like, don't, and guys, like, I submit whatever Ryan and Cody say, follow what they're saying. If I say anything contradictory, listen to them over me. One thing I would say is distill your carriers down to like 3 to 4. Don't overcomplicate it. If you spread it out way too much, it's gonna lower profitability. It's just gonna lower your confidence. Seeing that like you get an email every week about a chargeback notice that's like $800. It's like, dude, we're probably never gonna write that carrier again, right? Like, you don't want that to happen. So it's just super simple stuff as far as that goes. So I'm gonna share one more quick thing as far as like just CEO and bonus, like just business acumen as far as that goes, right? Very first thing is complete ownership, right? A lot of us like either intentionally or not intentionally just don't take ownership over things. The lead suck, the comp sucks, the commission suck, the blah blah blah. Carriers are horrible. The whatever it is, just take complete ownership of your situation, right? The mindset is like I have the problem, but I also have the ability to find the solution. So take complete ownership as far as that goes.
I have to stop you there, Johnny. That I couldn't. I mean, 1,000% agree with complete ownership is so important. That was whenever I first got into sales. That was one thing that I heard a couple different people say. Grant Cardone was one of them, and I can't remember the second one, but I heard a couple people say that. Look, if you didn't sell that person, it is your fault. Always assume that it is your fault. And like Johnny is saying, it's really across the board. It's not just the sale in particular, it's everything.
Mm-hmm.
There's probably something you did wrong. It's even helped me in just general life, but especially in sales, especially as a business owner. So I absolutely echo that.
Yeah, and that's important, right? Like it's just helpful overall, right? It's once you start actually taking ownership, you start casting like if whenever you don't take extreme ownership, like you're casting the power to somebody else and out of your control. It's like you have the power to be able to find the solution, right? If you're not where you're at, if you're not where you want to be in life, like it's your fault, which is fine, but you have the power to be able to find that, right? The next thing is setting daily, weekly, and monthly goals and commitments. Um, the reason I say commitments is like I set goals, but then I also set commitments, like the minimum standard, because you guys aren't going to rise to your potential. You're going to fall to your standards. And so I have the goals, which is awesome. Like stretch, that'd be awesome to hit, but I have minimum commitments, right? Commitments are activity based and inputs based, not outputs based. So goals is outputs, commitments are inputs. And so I'll kind of go over that a little bit here in a few. If you don't hit them, it's totally cool. This is a long game. They either hit like successful people either hit them, and if not, they reevaluate. They ask why not, and then they improve and then they scale. Right when your numbers make sense, and guys, this is super important. A lot of people don't do this. When your numbers make sense, when everything looks good on paper, right? When everything's flowing, despite being uncomfortable, spend more money, right? A lot of you guys are running Facebook ads. Facebook ads now are going to be the cheapest that they'll ever be. And if you guys are getting a 3x, 4x, 5x, 10x, whatever it is above like a 1x, like that's good, right? You're making money. So despite being uncomfortable, because everything's going to be uncomfortable in life, scale, spend the money, and work life. Your life depends on it because it does. So, because the reality is that the more money you spend, just the simple money the simply more money that you're going to make. I just hired a business coach, and he's doing about $800,000 to $1 million in commissions or cash collected in his business, and he spends about 150 to 200,000 a month on ads. Right? We're not optimizing for return on investment. We're optimizing for profit. So even if like that's like a huge thing in the industry that a lot of people are after is like ROI, which I get it, right? We want higher ROIs, but the limiting belief that he gave me is like, dude, if you just spend money and you're profitable, just keep spending more money because the likelihood is that you're going to continue making more, right? So this is why it's so important to track your numbers and have daily, weekly, and monthly cadences as far as this stuff goes. Because if you guys freak out or you guys spend 150, 200, God forbid, $300 in a day on ad spend or whatever it is, right? The magic 10,000 a month or whatever it is, right? Like, it's all good. Like, you don't stress yourself out over one day of not closing deals. Look at it on a week to week and month to month basis and reevaluate as you go, right? Optimize and go from there. Just some more stuff. More than 10 states, the more the better. Is really solid as far as licenses goes. Get a business bank account separate from your personal, right? So an Amex Gold Card, Forex points, as far as that goes. I know some of you guys are running the marketing, some aren't. It also buys 30 days of cash flow, right? So if you guys are putting it, if you guys are paying weekly or whatever it is, like just put it on a business card and it buys you 30 days of net free cash flow, which is awesome. Numbers are my biggest ally, right? That's what I love to say. As far as like numbers eliminate feelings and numbers over feelings, right? So that's something there. I know that you guys have a group chat, right? Just a Slack chat or something like that, I'm assuming. So track your data like your life depends on it, because it ultimately does. Post your daily numbers in Slack. I don't know if that works, if you guys do that at all, but we have this hashtag real G's post our numbers. Just to it's an accountability thing, but it's also a good way to celebrate each other's wins at the end of the day. It just super daily. It's a daily good task to have. Update your business tracker for sales daily. Have a weekly cadence to audit your whole business, sales and marketing metrics and business metrics, right? So like deposits, how much leads that you got, so on and so forth. These are important, right? So what I do is I have a monthly analysis of how the month went. What bottlenecks can I alleviate in this next month to be instantly become more profitable? And a lot of you guys have one, maybe two levers, but honestly, like mostly one lever that you can instantly pull right now that you could probably like instantly just boost your profitability if you just did one thing. So always look for the one thing that you can do that you're already doing right now that's the easiest, and just pull that and you'll become more profitable. Some people it's going to be writing better carriers. Some people it's whatever it is, right? Just spending more money. There's one lever that you can pull, do that, make your life easy. And then the last thing is check your bank account every morning. The things that you're not tracking are the things that aren't going to grow, right? The more attention that you put towards something, the more that it's going to grow. So that's really all I had for the training as far as that goes. But all in all, I know that was a lot, but just track your numbers seriously. Like it will just make you have just so much more like peace of mind, and you don't have to like have those thoughts in the back of your head like, how am I profitable? Is this working? Is it not? I don't know. Did I have the extra high of the caffeine that's why I feel so good? Like it's not that, right? It's just like, okay, cool. The numbers look good. Let's keep going. So I don't know if you have any questions on that, any takeaways that you guys have from this. I hope this was at least worth your guys' 42 minutes of time. But this has really personally helped me really grow my business. So yeah.
1,000%. I absolutely echo it all. Couldn't agree more that tracking numbers is huge. You and I had a conversation once before, talking about tracking numbers, and I'm like, man, that was literally one of the first things that I came in doing, was at least tracking who I was writing and knowing roughly what I was actually issuing. I was lucky enough that I didn't fall for the trap of, oh wow, I've issued 30 grand this month, and I thought that I was actually getting that deposited. I was lucky enough that I did see that. It's completely makes sense how somebody could think that they are actually doing that without actually knowing how it works. But I was lucky enough that I didn't fall for that or see it that way. And so that kind of saved me a little bit. But yeah, 1,000% echo, the tracking the numbers is absolutely huge. Definitely track them. Anybody got any questions for Johnny? I do, Johnny. I just have to ask. So sorry, Adam. You brought up politics, Johnny. Who are you voting for? I'm just kidding, man. No, really, don't say it. Don't say it. Go ahead, Adam. I had to. I had
Nah,
to. So.
I was just gonna say, do we get access to this recording and the flow chart and all that kind of cool stuff?
Of
Yeah,
course, I'm
yeah,
gonna
yeah.
I'll put this flow chart in a doc and I'll send it to Ryan. He could send it over to your guys' chat for sure.
Awesome. I
Sweet.
appreciate that, man.
Thank
Yeah, and
you.
I,
Of
I
course.
plan to put this up in YouTube land at least to some extent. So that way we'll have access to it and everything also from there. So
I guess like I'm curious for you guys, what are like your biggest like if you guys because one thing that we do in whenever we do coaching calls and things like that is we all like share our like golden nugget or takeaway. Because one thing to just listen to it, but we're so information inundated over and over and over again. Like, what's the one thing that each of you guys and we got what 15 people on here. I'd love to hear the golden nuggets that you guys are going to take into your business like moving forward. It's just one small thing or maybe it's a big thing, whatever it is. I'd love for you guys to share.
Mine is just how you analyzed it, how you organized the flow chart and analyzed everything, and then bottleneck it and see what's the easiest thing to fix. That's so simple. It's ridiculously simple. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Yeah. It's awesome, dude.
Yeah, I definitely liked hearing about instead of just tracking where you're losing people in the call, tracking exactly why you're losing them. That's something I didn't consider at all. So that's
yes,
pretty
and
cool.
that's actually something, guys, that we don't actually have in our tracker, like notating what that conversation was. It's so the wild thing is I actually used to do that a long time ago, but I just fell away from it. I guess
You're
I
just
kind of
closing
learned.
too many deals. It's hard to keep
All
track.
right. I was making so much money, man. There's I don't think there's a way to make cash rain on you on Zoom. There's you could do all kinds of different crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But no, but one thing that I'm going to add to everybody's tracker is a what do you call it whenever you list all your calls, and basically it's more, I think it's more than just a call tracker, but because we've got an actual call tracker where we track up our appointments, who picked up, who we have a little bit of different terminology of, like we've got a 5 minute pickup, quoted, that type situation. Do you have any terminology for actually listing the I had a call with Sally, basically list the client name, how long the call was, where it fell off, and then whatever notes or takeaways you have from that call. Do you
Yeah,
have something specific?
so I have an upfront and I have a back end, right? So I have both of them that I track. And so upfronts like before it's pretty much before like based on our script and how it goes, like just like before explaining the process, right? So once you get the preliminary, like, awesome, you said you're in Arizona, right? Awesome. And were you looking to cover the burial or cremation? Were you looking just to kind of cover the final expenses or leave a little extra, blah, blah, blah. After that, that's kind of the front end. And then you're going to get objections there. Want them to just track like what they said. And then on the back end, you could break it up into 3. One thing I would say, just to make it super simple for you guys, is just keep it super simple, right? Like don't feel like you have to optimize everything at once, right? Just start by putting your numbers on a Google sheet every day, right? Just start there, start small. And then it's all about building a habit, right? 1% better every day. And yeah, there's going to be a lot of things from this call that you're like, oh, I can optimize this, I can optimize that. What's the number one thing? It's like you guys probably, to be honest, if you guys are just starting to track your numbers, you guys aren't going to know what bottleneck you need to solve. You won't know if your numbers look good or don't, to be honest. But that's the cool thing about learning and figuring it out, right? You fall forward and you go forward. But just start with tracking your numbers, putting it on a sheet, right? From there, you look, okay, maybe on a week-to-week basis, you look at your week's numbers and you have like a bigger data pool from there. You could be like, okay, I didn't make the dials I needed to make this week. Instead of making 600, I'm going to make 1,000. All right, cool. Make that little change. Let's see how that goes. Then we go on another week and you're like, okay, I made the 1,000, which is awesome. Check mark. And you give yourself that that reinforcement, that positive reinforcement, and then you move on. Okay, cool. Did I hit the contacts that I want? Why not? Okay, great. Well, let's start tracking them this week. So, okay, well, I did 20 presentations. What happened on those 20? How many did I close? 6? Well, could I maybe get 8 this week? Who knows, right? And you kind of just slowly go as you over time. What's nice is that the more data that you track, one, the more addicting it gets, right? Like I'm looking at my tracker like 5-10 times a day. But it's like, okay, as you go, the more numbers, it just makes it more a predictable business that you guys don't have to like rely so much on. Hopefully I make it this month. It's like, no, I can predictably know that if it's a bad month, here's my numbers. If it's a good month, I'm hitting these numbers. If it's an average month, I'm hitting this. And then you can kind of ride it out and actually survive. So that's just an add-on as far as that goes. But yeah.
I will also add what Johnny was saying there. One big mistake that I made in the beginning was constantly changing everything. I would hear, whether it be somebody on YouTube or just simply listening to a client, yell and scream at me. I would think, oh, well, I need to change this. Oh, well, I need to change that. Be very careful and very mindful for what you change, for what you make adjustments to, because if you think that you need to change everything, that may not be entirely true. And one thing that I can absolutely confirm is that if you're following the script, the way everything is laid out, there's very, very little, other than bringing your own personality into the mix. There's very little to change, because every sales process is very simple and straight to the point. So I just want to echo again what Johnny's saying, is be very careful. If you're going to change something, do it slow, do small tweaks, and make sure that, like Johnny said, track your numbers so you know that that's an actual problem. Don't just think the fact that a client said something that, well, that is a problem. Make sure that your numbers are actually reflecting your feelings. Anybody got any other questions for Johnny? Anything outside of maybe even what he was talking, his whole flow chart, everything, anything, personally or from his team? Johnny, just out of curiosity, how many, you're growing trying to grow an agency, right?
Yes and no.
Yes.
I'm mainly focused on
That's how everyone feels.
Yeah, I'm mainly focused on the coaching aspect right now. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is more about tech. You mentioned something about Kixi and about Wave. Have you used them both? And if you have, what is the thing that you would like about any of them?
One thing I can say, I don't have too much data on Wave. One thing I can say is Kixi, what happened, what, and this is just personal data, right? 157 dials was typically what the number was before I used Kixi, right? Per sale. So every 157 dials, I'd make a sale. When I switched over to Kixi, it turned into 34 dials per sale. So about a 5x for me personally, 4.5, 5x. As far as increasing contact rate. That's just my personal data. Now,
what were you using before, Johnny?
My phone. That's why I'm like, that's why, like, if people don't use Kixi, I'm just like, dude, a year and a half, 2 years ago, I was hammering on my phone. Like, these people are calling me at, like, I remember waking up a few Sunday mornings because I hammered over and over and over on a Saturday, waking me up at like 3 a.m., 4 a.m. And I'm like, why are you calling me? But I was manually triple dialing on my phone, right? Using Google Voice.
Okay.
It's like, you guys are spoiled now to be able to use dialers that literally, like, you put it in a power list and it starts calling. It's like, that's all I'll say. But I used to just use my phone, and I didn't really care. But
so you were getting the 1 out of 157 out of your phone, and then Kixi turn. I don't know our exact data as far as how many. It would be easy enough to extract that data, because as long as we track our calls, we've got it in our call tracker, we'd be able to extract that data, what we're actually seeing per dial, right?
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what that is, but it did sound sound like a lot. We're lucky enough we're not using our phone is my point. We're using Ringy currently.
You guys are
but
using Ringy? Cool.
yeah. It's super simple. We found it to be
Yeah.
the easiest thing to bring people in with and so forth.
Yeah.
But we're always open to innovating or new opportunities, new options, you know. But our
I
contact
personally
rate is pretty
recommend
high.
Kixie if I'm gonna be straight up. Like it's personally helped me. That's our standard. But if Ringy is working for you guys, like don't shy away from it. And guys, I'm gonna say something crazy controversial, but like if you guys want to actually grow your business, stop watching YouTube videos. Like unsubscribe for me, unsubscribe from Ryan. Like literally, like here's why. Confused minds. Like literally, you're gonna hear one thing from somebody, you're gonna hear another thing from somebody. You're gonna be like David Duford's $1 million script. Then you're gonna hop on a training like this and be like Johnny's $1 million script. Then you're gonna listen. It's just like it's so confusing. And honestly, the advice that even me personally, right? I share my experience and what happens, right? But it could be so out of context for your situation and literally make zero sense from what you guys are saying. That's why it's so important to plug into one mentor, shut everything off, unsubscribe, turn off your channel, and stop listening to that. Ask your mentor questions, get up to the point where you actually get at least to as good as your mentor, and then be open to iterating. But like if you guys are trying to like watch YouTube, it's this mindless cycle. Like it not mindless cycle, but it's just this is going to be pretty explicit, but like it's just mental masturbation. You're getting off, you're getting the high of you're learning, but you're really not. Like nothing's gonna help you guys escape from the work, rather than putting it away and just focusing on the work that needs to be done. Right? You guys are gonna make way more money making 2 times the amount of dials than listening to a YouTube video. You guys are gonna make more money spending more money, spending double the amount of money than watching a YouTube video. And it's just you're gonna hear one thing, and honestly, it confused me for the longest time. But when I kind of put it away, or I'd look and check in, like I mentioned Alex Ramosi a lot. Like I'll listen to him like a little bit, and then I'm like, okay, cool. Now I have exactly what I need to go, and I iterate, and I actually go and actually execute that. And so if you guys learn to hyper execute, YouTube videos are going to be irrelevant. So that's just my hot take as far as that goes. There's awesome YouTubers out there. You're talking to one right here. No, I'm just kidding. But anyways, like I'm just saying, like just yeah. That's just my hot take, and I'm done with the rant.
100%. And that goes to like what I was saying before, listening to so many different things, you know, and making changes to your script because of the client. Same way with listening to YouTube videos and listening to 1,000 different people. You're going to run into that exact same thing of you're going to be pulled in multiple directions. So, and feeling like this is the next big thing. And so you're going to make another change, and you're going to find, dude, if I had a bomb emoji to drop when you said that, like that's freaking huge. And I will say, I don't think it's just god awful to listen to YouTube.
Yeah.
But I do think it's very important to pick. My advice would be to maybe pick 1 or 2 and only listen to them. Don't allow yourself to get sucked in by anybody else. No matter who that is. Me. No, I'm just kidding.
Me and Ryan, turn everybody off, unsubscribe from anybody else.
Boom. Yeah. No,
I'm just kidding.
But that is absolutely huge. Go ahead.
Just real quick, only because I wanted to like get that little answer to that end part of the question. What part about Kixie is that you're liking more, the triple dialing, the local presence, or both? I'm just asking like in general because we do have local presence in Ring, so I just wanted to like know a little bit more about like if it was because of the triple line being able to like call 3 people at the same time, you know.
Yeah, so I think honestly, like I would run with the system you're working now. To be honest, I just personally have seen with Kixie, there's pros and cons with everything. I'd say with Kixie, just what I've seen is the local presence is nice. And then the just putting it in a power list, but I'm pretty sure I don't think Kixie can do anything that Ringy doesn't, from what I've personally seen. I know that the phone number management is there as well. To be honest, I think it's more on a decline, but I don't know as far as Ringy goes how that is. So that's what I would say. I would submit to ask Ryan or Cody and listen to what they say. So yeah, I don't want to create confusion here at
No.
all.
Yeah, no. The opinion is definitely great, greatly appreciated. So definitely not
Yeah.
a problem there by any means. Would again, both Cody and I have said multiple times, change may suck sometimes, but sometimes change is the better for the better too. There's
Yeah.
always holes that can be patched in some way. It's just a matter of whether this hole needs to be patched before this hole. So, but it's always great to hear a second side. And again, man, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing with everybody, pouring out to the team, because they listen to me and Cody, enough, and maybe not enough, but they listen to us, right? So, extra perspectives are always great to even solidify things. So,
yeah, for sure. Well, thanks for having me on here, guys, and thanks for giving me your time and attention. I
Yes.
appreciate you guys, and best of luck
Yes.
to you guys. Absolutely crushing it.
Yeah, and if you guys got any questions whatsoever, just so you know, shoot them over to me. If you come up with something, I can always reach out to Johnny. Johnny's on Slack too, if you can find him out there or whatever. But by all means, again, thank you again, Johnny. Really appreciate it, man.
Yeah. Thank you. We'll talk soon.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
See you guys soon.
Appreciate you guys.
Yes,
Peace out,
sir.
guys.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, man.